everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Hannah. I'm UK casting specialist at Backstage. And this is part of our digital slate of content where we've been speaking with actors and casting directors and producers and the whole world over. Today, we're speaking to Niamh Algar, who is in lots of great TV and film projects that I personally have loved over the last couple of years. So I'm so excited to speak about those. She's also in Raised by Wolves, which is coming up on September 3rd.
Correct. Yeah.
It is. Okay, great. Well, yeah, thank you, Niamh. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I was just having a little chat with Niamh just before, and we have a lot of actors and filmmakers who watch these what do we call them, broadcasts. So we're going to be deep diving into Niamh's career, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of her work. So I suppose let's try and start at the beginning. So was there like a moment or a time when you were younger that you decided that you wanted to be an actor or at least work in the creative arts?
I think it probably happened when I was near the end of my secondary level education. The usual thing where you start to have conversations with your guidance counselors, and I was, I had said that I wanted to go into drama, but it was like there was no one in my town to there was no template from people who had done that and had a career out of it. So I was quite abruptly steered off and told you're good at art. Why don't you teach art, or you go into teaching? And yeah, so I found, I don't know where it actually came from, but I think it was just in performing arts when I was a kid, doing student productions in school. There was this really great student players society in my town in Mullingar, run by a guy called Sean Lynch, and he was really cool because he used to run these these workshops on a Saturday and Sunday, and he never treated us like kids. We were always treated like adults, because you always used to say that, you're here as adults. This isn't school, so you can come and you can leave. No one's forcing you to be here. School is from 9 till 4, and this is a different beast. So if you want to stay, just act almost like an adult and take responsibility. And I think it was because we all through school you're treated like a kid, and it was the first time that you're actually treated like an equal, and it was a lovely environment to be in. So I think that's kind of where it started. But I suppose the idea formulated of using it as a career, I think, was when I was in college, and I was to pay for my keep. I was working on sets as a production runner for the art department, and I just saw I suppose the mechanics of filmmaking and what goes into it, and the creative process. So that was a huge influence to me, I suppose, at 17, 18.
Yeah. And so how old were you when you did that, doing those classes then in Mullingar? That was
I started that when I was 8. And then,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then I joined an improv comedy, it wasn't comedy, it was an improv class then in Dublin. And that's where I met one of my best friends was Shauna Kurzak, and Shauna at the time was working as an actor in film. So I think it was seeing that and being inspired by her journey into it. And she too was, she was in college studying, but wasn't studying drama. So it was quite inspiring, because it wasn't you had to have a 4-year drama degree in order to pass into it,
Yeah. It's seeing that actual real world, this is what a success could be like, because I'm from quite a small place in Wales as well, and there's no point of reference, although there wasn't when I was growing up, so was it seeing your friend and thinking, oh, actually this could be for me a career?
Yeah, well, I think it was just the idea that you could, it's something that you can do, it's not, but also it's there's, I don't know, there's someone asked me, there's a drive that you can't turn off. And I think that it's so important for an actor to have that drive and listen to it, because that's the fuel that propels you forward. And And I think there's like, it's almost like that's always kind of lived in me, that this was a profession that I wanted to do, that was going to be motivated by the doing. And I always found got such a rush by actually doing the job, if that was on stage or in film. It's like it is like a drug to me. So I suppose it's a good drug habit, but yeah.
Yeah. So so then you went into training a little bit later on. Did you go to the factory, Bow Street, Dublin, right?
Yeah. So Shauna, who we were in this improv class, she was a part of this I suppose it's like, how you describe it, it's like a creative hub for filmmakers. So there was actors, there was directors, writers, and casting directors in this one building. Almost, I suppose you compare it similar to the Nottingham workshop, which had Vicky McClure and the likes. And this was somewhat similar. It's like it wasn't like a 4-year drama course. It was very much set up with professionals who were looking for actors to collaborate with, whether they had like scripts, or directors if they were, trying out some scenes, or developing on an idea. So I was invited into that by a casting director called Maureen Hughes, and that was kind of where it started. That's where it started, I suppose, where I knew I was going to be taking it seriously. And it was from then that I got cast in a film that then kind of got me my agent.
And that was that Without Name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before that point, you were working on a lot of short films, and as you said, you worked as a production designer.
No, I didn't. Well, I worked in the art department. I started off just making teas and coffees and making sure everyone was all right.
Yeah. So before you got to that point where you got your agent, after you booked Without Name, which then brought you independent, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So were you just hustling for yourself before that point? Were you looking for jobs and auditioning just?
Yeah. I was working for free on so many short films or music videos, or just getting involved in the development process with different projects as an actor, that you would be there to read lines or workshop scenes, but you weren't exactly going to be cast in the project. But it gave me a greater understanding, I suppose, of the craft, but also just an excuse to act for the day, but yeah, I was just hustling in the streets of Dublin, trying to get work. And I did a couple of short roles in different television projects in Ireland, but it was Lorcan Finnegan's Without Name that showcased at the Toronto Film Festival, and then I went on to London Film Festival, and that's when I met with Independent, my agent. And I never left. I never got the flight back to Ireland. My mate was renting out a room in his house, and I just kind of took it.
So from LFF you just stayed?
Yeah, I had a suitcase of clothes, and I'd gotten a grant off the Screen Ireland to get to pay for the flights. So I the idea of flying back and then having to fly back again in order to go for meetings was a bit dumb. So I just kind of thought, I'd stay, and I never left.
Whoa, she never left since. Wow. So okay, at which point then did you, because you got 2 really prestigious nods from Screen Star of Tomorrow, and that was 2018, I think, and then Breakthrough BAFTA, Breakthrough Brit. Yeah. So was that after Without Name, or was that around the time of The Virtues?
The Screen Star happened because what happened with the Virtues, so kind of like that, we shot The Virtues nearly 3 years ago, and that was a lot. That was we shot that kind of pretty much over a year. So kind of soon enough, whenever, about 6 months after I landed in London, I met with Shane and auditioned for that, and that had been completed, and I was signed on to do other projects when Screen Star kind of came along, and that was and then I was in South Africa, and I got told about, I was in South Africa shooting Raised by Wolves, and found out about the BAFTA Breakthrough. So it was, they all kind of happened kind of one after the other.
Those are like the biggest nods for actors in the UK, I would say. So let's just quickly go back though. Is there anything that you learned like during that time where you were just hustling on the streets of Ireland, trying to book some jobs? This short film might lead to this feature film, or you know, what we're all doing when we're trying to start out in any profession. Well, maybe not any profession, but in this one. Was there anything that you learned over that time about hustling for yourself that like worked?
I learned that you are your own best friend and you're your own worst enemy. I think in that time, and I think that you're constantly always looking for approval from others, and if you don't get that, if you're counting on that, it's very it's you know, it's counterproductive, and it's that idea of the drive that it has to come from you, and if you don't feel it, you can't be looking for an external source in order to fuel that. So I think it was treating yourself with kindness. It was looking after yourself, that I kind of clued into that kind of early on, and also just to ground yourself with friends and family that also take you out of that kind of industry for enough for you to get perspective, I think was really important, and to have experiences, because you know, sometimes if you get caught up trying to always catch the thing that you're looking for, you miss out basically on life. And I think that that was kind of very important. So
does that play into like having a balance across your whole life?
Yeah, because if you're counting on the work to bring you happiness, it's I don't know, I think that's I don't know, I don't think you can count on just getting the job to establish that you are an actor. I think it's just always finding different creative outlets. So if that was, you know, I always like when in the factory, Jim Sheridan was one of the directors in there, and he said like best way that you can learn is if you literally go out there and make it. So we were given cameras and sound equipment, and we went out and shot little short films, and it's that creativity that was fed, you know, it was doing that kind of fed the creativity and kept it alive. So you weren't just, you know, you weren't just counting on the jobs to being able to act. If you know, go and make it yourself, and that's how you're going to learn.
Yeah, I think it gives you a really good overview of what goes into everything as well, rather than just being focused on the job that you're doing. And do you see yourself maybe directing or producing one day? Because a lot of that crosses over, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd love to direct one day, but not for a while.
When you're busy, so you're fine.
Yeah, well, like directors, you go, because we were always like they've got like so many things that they have to worry about on set. We just have one thing, and that's just like to, you know, find the character and deliver the scenes. But, you know, they're worrying about budget, they're worrying about finances showing up and being on set, and, you know, locations falling through, as well as making sure that they're telling the story that they set out to do. So, but yeah, I think I'll begin to direct later on in life when I know the stories that I want to tell.
Yeah. So let's talk about The Virtues then, which is amazing. And actually, I spoke to Helen Behan a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and she was so great, and it was just amazing hearing about her experience across all of that. So how did that role come about for you?
It all started with my agent. I remember, because I was only looking at the email the other day, and it was like, Shane Meadows wants to meet you for an audition, and he was like, sounds good, and I was like, yep, absolutely, sounds fantastic. You know, I'm like, I'm such a massive Shane fan. Like the This Is England series, or the film, and Dead Man's Shoes were just very kind of influential in me as an actor. So that was nerve-wracking, to be honest, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And, you know, you put someone on a pedestal, and you all you want to do is really impress them. But kind of reply back, and I was like, is there scenes, is there sides to learn? He's like, apparently not. And so Shaheen Baig, who's the casting director on it, met with their team, and we just did this, it was like a 15-minute improv just being recorded. So I got sent like in the room, we just went in and there was like a character description, and her wonderful assistant, whose name fails me at the minute, she just read it out. And then she was like, and after this, we're going to go into an improv. So wherever you go with it, it's up to you. So immediately kind of like the stress of what's going to happen is being lifted, because there's no expectation, you know, it's just being present and responding to what was going to be on that page. So did that, and then the next week I met with Shane, and then we did like an hour-long improv with, I think it was like Johnny Harris, I think at the time, and then was offered the role, and then we started off on a many weeks of workshopping the character and finding who she was and where she fitted into the story. And yeah, he just gives you a lot of freedom. Like, he'd send me out to speak with different women who had similar experiences to Dina, whether that was going to be substance abuse or losing a child kind of early on in their life, or if they put them up for adoption. Also meeting with like social workers, because to him he wants to capture the truth, and for you to find those stories kind of in very much in the real. So so I'd go out for the evening in Nottingham and Sheffield, and go and meet with these people, and like the stories were just incredible. Like to have that access to these real people was just like a lesson in itself.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it.
That's incredible. I don't know much about his process when you're finding the character. That's so interesting to know that. So then when you're on set, how does that translate in terms of how you deliver dialogue? Is it all improv, or, you know, what is the structure of that?
No, there's room for improv, or there's room to improvise going into a scene, but very much the beauty of what Shane does is that he has a script, but he makes it feel like you've got so much freedom that when you actually cop on, that what you realize you're doing is you're actually delivering the lines that are in the script, but to you they feel like they've literally just like come out of nowhere. But you're like, you go back and you look at the scene, you're like, oh yeah, he wrote that verbatim. But you know, what was so amazing with the workshops beforehand with the different characters is that we would improvise scenes that were anything but the scenes that we were going to shoot, just to see what they would conjure up and how your character was going to emotionally respond to that person, even if they have no scenes together in the script, which is really interesting, because then by doing all of that, you're discovering more things about the character that you either suppress and you don't show the audience, or you decide to show them within scenes that you wouldn't have seen them there. And like we did that with a lot of scenes with with Michael, the character Michael, who plays my brother in it, and also Helen Bean's character, and we did a lot of improv with the kids as well, just to make them feel very comfortable, and they were like, the guys had the confidence to more confidence than any of us. So
the kids were amazing. They were so good. Everyone's amazing, but the kids were like, wow.
They're so good. Like we went out and we went bowling, and we got pizza, and we had like little family days out, which was really cute. And like they would treat me like I was that their auntie, and be like, we went to this arcade, and they came running up to me, they're like, Dina, do you've like spare change to put into the slot machines? And you're kind of going like, cheeky devil, you know. But yeah, there was just, it was a very much like it felt very safe and very comfortable, and Shane does that. He gets those stories out of you that like helps you connect to those characters, and yeah, he's a bit of a magician in that sense.
So putting him on a pedestal, then he totally lived up to.
Yeah. Like on my first day of filming, Stephen said, it's not going to get better than this. And I was like, this is kind of my first big gig, but thank you very much. You know, thank you very much for letting me know. Yeah, he was, he just trusts people, and if things aren't working, he doesn't try the scene over and over and over again. We either just move on and we go and grab a bite to eat and sit down and kind of reflect on it. And there's nothing ever felt rushed, if that makes sense. Nothing ever felt rushed on set.
So from that experience then of really deep diving into something to find out a character and all of those things, in something which is a little bit more, in my mind, when I view it, a little bit more structured in something like Pure, is there anything that you found really useful where maybe there wasn't as much directed workshopping and self-discovery at the beginning of the process before you dive into the character and you shoot? Is there anything that you take from that experience on the Virtues that you will always use on every project you go into to prepare?
Oh, just do your homework. You know your character better than anyone on set. Just remember that. And the reason why that is because you've put in those many weeks and hours of finding out what the character is afraid of, what they're passionate about, what the backstory. Because that's the thing that is in your head that, you know, the audience don't know unless it's in the script. But, you know, having all that and having that knowledge is probably your best tool. And luckily with Pure, you know, everyone, like all the cast on that was so lovely and warm and friendly, and we got on immediately. Like it wasn't as if we had to spend like weeks in advance, you know, hanging out to establish the chemistry. And it was Charlie Clives' first job, so everyone kind of banded together to make it a very special, I feel like, very special experience. But there was, I think it's just, Stephen said that because I'm preparing a project at the moment, and I was talking to him and he's like, just do what you did with Shane, just do your homework, go meet with people, and grounded in that, always grounded in the truth. Yeah,
definitely. And Pure has just come on to Netflix, so it's I think a lot of more people are discovering it now as well. I really recommend.
And HBO in America, which is cool.
Oh, okay. This is good to let people know in the US, because I don't know if you've seen it in the chat box. There's loads of people all over. So HBO in the US, Netflix in the UK, and maybe 4OD still in the UK. Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And The Virtues is also on 4OD because I rewatched it recently as well. So I wanted to just mention Calm with Horses, which, is there a different name in the US? I saw something online.
There is. Yeah.
What is it?
The Shadow of Violence.
Okay. Yes. So Calm with Horses is...
we'll go with that title.
Yeah, that's what it is in the UK. But if you're in the US and you're wondering what we're talking about and you can't find it, remind me, what did you just say?
The Shadow of Violence.
The Shadow of Violence. Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. It is so good. It was in the cinema for like 2 days and then lockdown happened.
Yeah.
So gutted about that, because it's, well, my favorite actors, Barry Keoghan, Cosmo Jarvis, are just incredible, and it all works so well together. So after watching that, I was like, oh gosh, you really pick great characters. So is there something that you're drawn to in characters like Dina and Ursula, which you think you have always been drawn to in a character, or is it just so happened that those have sort of been the ones that you've been offered?
I don't know if it's like someone looks at me and goes, she could play a very flawed and complex. I've never done comedy. So maybe it's more about how I'm being perceived. But I don't know, I think I'm always drawn to people who are misrepresented in society and misunderstood, and giving them a voice. Yeah.
I would say your character in Pure is comedic, though.
She is, yeah. No, that was that's probably the closest character I've got to play that's kind of me. To a degree. But
yeah.
No, she's way more cooler. Her flat is class, and she's just very she's cool. She's got definitely, she's much cooler than I am. But that was a bit more fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about Raised by Wolves then. So you play Sue in Raised by Wolves, which, as I say, I saw 6 episodes of.
Did you see all 6?
Pardon?
Have you seen six episodes?
I did.
Oh wow, okay. Right,
Yeah.
so you're in deep. What, you're in deep?
Oh yeah. So I went away to a cabin in North Wales last weekend for my birthday, and it was raining. So I was like, okay, amazing. I'm just gonna stay in this cabin and watch the whole thing. So it's so good. It's so epic, and I really feel like people are gonna get totally lost in it and binge it all. Are people gonna be able to watch it like one after another, or do they have to wait for the episodes to come out?
My understanding is that the first 3 are going to go out. The first 3 episodes are going to go out, and then it'll be in batches.
Okay.
So I think people are going to learn to be a little bit patient, which is good.
No, patient.
Because they are very epic. Like it's a cinematic show. There's this cinematic television experience. So, it's not something that you want to binge in one session, I feel, because there's so much happens in the episode, and especially like the setup of it, the way in which Ridley has created this world and how he set up the characters is it's almost set up like it's cinematic. It's like a film. So I'm looking for people to get lost in that world.
It is amazing. So let's talk a little bit then about how this one came about. I read somewhere that you and Ridley Scott bonded over boxing.
Yeah, we did. We had the same boxing coach in Cape Town. Ridley is ridiculously in shape. For a man who's in his 80s, he has more energy than anyone on set, which is quite infectious. But like, you know, he's always got like about 20 projects on at the same time, but yet gives each project the same amount of attention and care, and I don't know how he does it, but yeah, we we talk about it because I auditioned by sending in a tape of me boxing. So I do a bit of boxing, and the physicality of Sue is she's quite athletic, and she's a soldier, so there comes like I suppose a strength quality with that. And from the scenes, I kind of wanted to showcase that, but I actually put it into the scenes because it wasn't anything in the scenes to showcase that. So I took it upon myself to go to the gym, and I got my mate and we did some sparring, and I got another lad to shoot it and sent that. And then we were out for dinner and he kind of brought it up, which he was like, that's quite unusual, but like obviously it worked. Hopefully, obviously, he probably watched the scene and went, "She can act." So, but yeah, because myself and Amanda Collin, who plays the incredible lead in the show, we would get up in the morning and go boxing to this trainer before set. So, yeah, because it's like a marathon, that shoot. It was the longest shoot I've ever done. It was like over 6 months. I think it was nearly 8 months. So, to be physically prepared to take on such a thing, we were like athletes.
Yeah. So where were you filming? Was that in South Africa as well?
Yeah, in South Africa, in Cape Town. Yeah.
And when was it? Was it this year, beginning of this year, last year?
We started when did we start? We started January of last year, and then we finished this time last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was around this time last year actually. We wrapped.
Yeah. It's really amazing. So could you tell us a little bit about your character?
Yeah. So I play Sue. Like the premise of the show, it's 2 androids that are tasked with raising human children on this virgin planet, and then this begrudging colony of humans, which are the Mithraics, come onto this planet and try to take back the kids that are being raised by androids, because androids in their light are seen as, you know, kind of toxic and not something that should be raising human children. So I play Sue, she's an atheist, but she is posing in the Mithraic colony, and this is a very religious colony on